May Rotary friends and Rotary ways help us to serve Thee all our days.
I'm going to introduce one of our newer members. I don't want to call you a new member, you're a newer member. Mickey Fleming to introduce our guest and visiting Rotarian.
Thank you, President Ellie, fellow Rotarians and honored guests. I am very pleased to introduce Katie Ackerman today. Katie, if you stand, she's a guest of Jillian Kerrigan. Welcome, Katie. Thank you for coming to Rotary. And Bob Keynes, a visiting Rotarian from Canmore, Alberta.
I'm really excited to introduce our two guest speakers today. I've specifically asked Janet Power and Dan Parker to be our presenters today because, as you know, Janet Parker is our president-designate. Janet Power. And Dan Parker is our, I'm going to call him our president-designate-elect. I'm making it up. And I thought it would be a really good idea. These are future leaders of our club, and I thought it would be a great idea for us to learn a little bit more about them and what Rotary means to them.
Okay, thank you, President Ellie, fellow Rotarians and guests. So, today I have approximately 10 minutes. I may go over to 11. 11 is my lucky number. I'm going to talk to you about roots in Rotary. Roots, where I came from, Rotary, where I am today. I'm from Placentia Bay, from a town, Placentia, on the Avalon Peninsula. This boot down here is the Burin Peninsula. And this whole area here, the H, is the Avalon. And I'm right here about an hour from St. John. Where I am today, Victoria, is very similar to where I came from. We got the water, we got the rock, we've got the RDF, rain, drizzle, fog. We've got the amalgamation, we got the Americans, and we've got the architecture. This is a shot looking out the ocean, Placentia Bay. In 1994, we amalgamated. So all the towns around became Placentia. The town here on the flatland is below sea level, is Placentia. The town on the hill over here is where I'm from. My family were smart. We lived in Jersey Side, and it's connected by a bridge. This used to be a very vibrant fishing village. It decreased after the cod mortuary, and then later on it was rebuilt, and then the fish plant burnt down. A couple of years ago, actually, I saw this half-an-hour presentation of a whale. We were on a whaling ship. And it performed for us for over half an hour. My mom thought it was rigged and wouldn't look at it, and then she found out it was real. Bridge. So we talked about amalgamation, architecture. We have a bridge. Not like the Blue Bridge. It's a lift bridge. It's one of the few in North America. It was put there by the Americans, as I said before. The lift goes up, the traffic stops on each side. Down. Sorry, down. Too loud? Alan's giving me a cue there. Go back. Back. So the bridge goes up and down, and of course we have problems with the bridge. The only part that the Americans have at this point is they got a little satellite station right at the tip of where they had the base. This is Argentia today. It is basically a hole. They are doing a construction there for building of oil rigs. Some kind of gravity landing where they're actually going to build them there. So that's what exists today, and it's bringing employment back to my town. And one of my highlights in my career is I moved to Vancouver in '89 to play softball, and attended probably in my life now over the years about 60 national championships in softball. Now, last but not least, Rotary, where I came today, and probably one of the most important parts of my presentation. I went to Rotary Africa shortly after I joined Rotary, about 2005, and shortly after I went to South Africa. So here we are, we visited a care home, We visited this place. It is a place that is for helping people get back on their feet. Went to a daycare. There was a lot of baboons and lots of animals around. I went to a nursing home as well as a hospital on the Rock, and all the children there had AIDS, and they lived in this house on the Rock that had beds lined up and medications lined up like you wouldn't believe, but they were beautiful children. I did experience an ostrich ride, so look very carefully. I'm on the Wheelchair Foundation. This is one of the gentlemen that I delivered a wheelchair to, and I was very shocked to hear that he actually was only like 60, 61.
Thank you. I was just wondering when I heard those comments about the Blue Bridge, whether that one was made out of American steel and how many years it was going to take to do it. I'm a Victoria boy. I was born and raised here and educated here, and have a degree from the UVic, and I was also when I was going to UVic, I was a licensed mutual fund salesman. Our company, Parker Johnson Industries, now has been in business for well over 60 years. When I started, we had about 9 or 10 people. We're now employing well over 200, sometimes up to 300, and we're located in Victoria and Calgary, and we have some other operations up the interior as well, and also Vancouver. I've had a lot of joy in both my associations with Rotary and the public activities as far as charity goes. I would say in my working activities that a minimum of 20% of my time to 25% of my time was spent working in charities. I joined Rotary in 1972, so you have to take your shoes off to count that far, but it's part of the fun. And I was introduced by a second uncle of mine named Bob Wallace, who some of you will know was the past president, the chancellor of the University of Victoria. And he was my mentor bringing me in. It was a terrific opportunity, and we provided, and I still remember talking about activities which are sponsored by Rotaries. And we were dealing with people that were on a thing called GAIN, a lot of them. They didn't have these skills to be able to be employed in the workforce in a meaningful manner, but they could come to this area and do something, had somewhere to go and had a sense of pride. The tragedy of that particular operation, the goodwill that was sponsored and funded, and the board was actually composed of Rotary members, as it turned out later on, around this community. During the NDP reign, there was a labor minister named Mo Savoda that told us that when they came for union certification of some of the truck drivers, this would never happen. Don't worry about it. It happened anymore. It just became a non-viable operation and had to be shut down. One of those tragedies, but one of those good things we did for a number of years in the community. We restarted the Christmas Santa Claus parade in the 1990s. We see it today now with the Island Farms Christmas parade. It's quite a significant thing. The opportunity I had was to become chairman of United Way. And it's Valentine's Day brings me up to another point, because a number of you that were here a few years ago, we had little hearts that everyone said, "What are you doing?" And they had a flashing, pulsing heart on them. And we sold them for $5, I think, a piece, and raised a bunch of money, had a Valentine's dance, which was a formal dance. We can actually take funds, place them in a situation where they produce some direct results without being transferred out for excessive administration costs, and be proud of it and know that it's sincere in what we do.
Thank you, President Ellie. It's exciting. Throughout the weeks, each week, we seem to have another presentation for our Paul Harris Foundation Award. And once again, we do. We have a couple, Terry and Joan, too.
And now we have another great, one of my favorite things to do is induct a new member. And I'd like to invite Ernie up and James Ramsbottom.
I've known him for a very long time, actually. It was about half an hour after he came to our club. I happened to sit next to him, so that's how long I've known him.
Got a green star on my badge. I I don't know what the green star means, but my wife will be pleased because as an elementary school teacher, every time I do something good, I get a sticker on the fridge.